This is the 20th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, Aftco, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning, and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live. We're going to talk about bass fishing. Now, we had originally scheduled an 8:30 show. Last week was a chaos when it came to the shows because Matt, Stefan, and I traveled literally all over the Southwest in the span of 5 days, trying to catch 6 in-fisherman Master Angler Award species. And if you followed that adventure, you know that it took us literally until the last cast of the final day, pitch black outside, and Matt Stefan catches a master angler crappie, a 2-pound crappie, but it needed to be 2 1/4 kept fish, 15-inch release fish, 15 1/4-inch crappie. I had one 15 1/4, 15 1/2 about an hour before that. And so our master angler forms are submitted. We've been in contact with fishermen, and we'll find out here shortly if we get our master angler patch. So I want to get back to regularly scheduled. So we'll bring in Edwin Evers. We talk to Edwin a couple times a year, always up BTL. But I was like, dude, there's been a lot of stuff going on in Oklahoma, and we fished a ton of different lakes around Oklahoma over the last week with Matt Stefan. And I texted Edwin and I said, are you free this week? Because I'd love to talk about fishing and theory and where you need to be and what you need to be doing, because I'm super confused right now as to how to target these fish. What's up, Edwin?
Oh, not much, man. It's a monsoon here in Oklahoma right now, as you know.
It was wild. We were about to go
Crazy.
live, and then boom, straight line winds, power went out. So that's why we're doing this. If you're listening on iTunes or replay, it doesn't matter. That's why we're doing this at 10:50 in the morning. Then you came back from your pecan farm, which I appreciate.
Glad to do it.
How many gallons is that fish tank behind you?
1,000 gallons. It's pretty cool. I enjoy that thing. I've had some really cool fish through the years in that thing. One in particular, I named it Stanley, and you could dangle your finger. Like, I invited my sister over one time. I was like, yeah, Beth, you can just pet him. It's okay. He'll just come up to the top and you just pet him. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah. And she takes it hook, line, and sinker. And she climbs up the ladder and she's like, puts her finger. I was like, now just put your finger right there on top of the water and he'll come up real slow and you can pet him. He comes from the bottom of that aquarium and it's like a 4-pounder. And just douses her and bites her finger. It drew blood actually on my son when he was young. He did the same thing. Like, he'll grab a hold of you. The moral of the story is she screamed she was a girl, but like almost fell off the ladder. But it's fun. You get some really neat personality fish in that thing. And that fish there, I actually caught on Claremore Lake filming. And it was one of the most ferocious swim jig bites I'd ever had. And I promise you, it was like somebody dropped a car on it. And I told that guy filming, I was like, man, I got to keep this fish. Like, I just got the aquarium and I put that fish in the aquarium and it lived up to that bite that I had that day. It was a cool fish.
How long did he live? Or her? How long did she live? Unless it was a giant male.
Time. Years. Yeah, I think it was a giant male. I think it was like a 4-pointer.
So was the aquarium like a bucket list thing? Like, you always wanted to have an aquarium with bass in it, and then once you got to the point where you could, let's be honest, 1,000-gallon aquarium, you're not doing that with pocket change from the Wednesday nighter, Edwin. I've had aquariums before, and I'm at like the 15-gallon, like where I have to throw them back when they get to 11 inches. 1,000 is, that's professional bass angler, Red Crest winning, classic winning kind of money right there. Was that like kind of a bucket list thing where you got to a point in your career where you said, I'm doing a big aquarium for bass?
I don't know. I truthfully didn't know how much it cost, and I started it. And once I started, I couldn't quit because I had the wheels in motion.
Yeah.
And that aquarium was in the previous house, before it got hit by a tornado. And it all happened. Truthfully, it stemmed from Timmy Horton. I went to his house and saw his aquarium, and I was like, the light bulb went off.
How big is his? I didn't know he had an aquarium.
Oh, he's got a nice aquarium. He's got a Bass Pro aquarium in his house.
Really?
And it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And I was like, you can do that in your house? And he's like, yeah. And ever since then, like, it was my goal, save my money and put one in my house.
Like, do you have an aquarium guy or girl who like comes and cleans it just like people have pool cleaners? Like,
Yeah, I do. He's super cool. He's a big time deer hunter and bass fisherman, and he comes and we end up swapping deer hunting stories this time of year. But he's a really cool dude.
so what's it? What do you have? One bass in there right now, and that's it, or
No, there's three.
okay?
They're hiding this morning, but there's a spotted bass, and I just had the two in there. They were like 10, 11 inches when I caught them. And then they fought so hard, I had to put a third one in there.
What do you mean fought?
Oh, dude, you'd be sitting there watching TV and they'd just be hitting and running and like it was like a battle, like two bulls fighting in there. And I put a third one in there and it's like the whole chemistry of the tank changed. You know, they don't fight anymore.
So is that third one the alpha then?
No,
And the
it's
other-
little. It's smaller. He's only like right now he's probably 1.5 pounds, but he's just another little largemouth. And I don't know why. Maybe they pick on him, or I don't know. It's weird.
That's wild. So, like when storms come through, or like we just had a harvest moon. That's why Matt Steffen said we didn't just have master anglers flying over the gunnel because they were biting at night because it was a harvest moon or all. Do you notice that the fish act differently? Like as far as if they're suspending, if they're active, if they're sitting on the bottom? Really?
Yeah, barometric pressure probably has the biggest effect on them. That and sun, you know, like here as we get into this time of the year, that sun gets lower in the horizon and the tank gets more sunshine on it. And I see them sunning more when that sun's out. And then like the barometric pressure, I feel like it affects the depth that they are in the aquarium.
So like high pressure, always considered not good for catching bass. Like high pressure morning, where are they positioned in the aquarium?
Up high.
Up high.
Yeah.
That's surprising. I thought they would just be sitting on the bottom.
Yeah, they're just not active. They're sitting up high, or yeah. It depends on what kind of mood they're in because they fight so much in there.
Yeah.
They're very territorial. So, but no, they do. They just sit up high a lot of times. I that's what I found. It's kind of odd. I agree with you. You know, you think you correlate that to bass fishing, you think they'd be on the bottom.
Yeah. I wonder if that's why they're hard to catch, because they're suspended then. And then, you know, for the last 60 years on high pressure, we haven't been able to put a bait directly in front of a suspended fish in an odd location. And that might be why they're so hard to catch in high pressure.
And yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, I think that's one of the things that I've learned more with forward-facing sonar is just what part of the water column they're in. You know, back in the past, we'd go flip a stump, it would be in 5 feet of water, and we thought the fish would be on the bottom of the stump. And now with that, you know, that forward-facing sonar, you'll see that thing, and he's sitting on top of that stump. You know, and it's just really, really educated me to be in the right part of the water column.
I had in college, I caught a spotted bass out of Thunderbird. And Gene Gillen to this day still doesn't believe that there's spotted bass in Thunderbird. There's a lot of spotted bass in Thunderbird. I actually held the lake record before they.
Wow.
It was a 2. It was a 2 pound, 10 ounce spot. But the lady at the gas station did not understand the difference between like 2 pounds, 10 ounces and 2.10.
Right.
So she insisted that it was a 2.10, even though the scale was in ounces. This is long time ago. So it was recorded as a 2.10 pound, which is way less than 210.
Yeah.
And then I got beat by a member of the OU fishing team like 8 years ago with one that still wasn't the lake record, but was bigger than the one that was recorded. And then they did completely away with the lake record program. So it really doesn't matter anyway.
Man, if I had a button for like applause, I'd be like pushing this button right here so we could all be applauding for you catching this the lake record. That's
I was
cool.
bummed when they did away with the state records.
Yeah.
Remember that when they had that for every lake, and you could have you'd be driving to wherever Sky took or
you look it up. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because my buddy Austin Cranford, we were fishing the Thursday nighter, and he caught a 3 pound spot out of Shawnee Twin Lakes, and we're like, dude, that's got to be a lake record. Got to be a lake record. We look it up. They'd abolished the lake records like 3 years ago.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah.
Wow. Wonder why.
Huh. Well, we got a lake record holder on here. Ben Fishing said he holds the lake record spotted bass at Clark's Hill for 6.5 pounds.
That's a giant.
Yeah, I've never even come close to a spot. Have you ever caught a giant spot like that? Like a true giant?
I've caught some 5-pounders back at Table Rock and Lake of the Ozarks back when they got really big there. But I believe I caught some 5-pounders there in Alabama, but I've never caught a 6-pounder. No.
Dude, that would be nuts. I think my biggest is like a 4.5. Was there a period there in the Ozarks where they did get? Because I mean, now it's hard to catch a 4-pound spot, but there's a lot of 3.25.
Right. Yeah, there was a time. It's probably around the early 2000s, when that largemouth virus took off and the spots just exploded, and you could catch catch a lot of 4-pounders and an occasional 5-pounder.
Do you have any records, like state records, lake records, species records? Have you ever Have you ever been a record holder, Edwin?
No. I wish I could say that. I'm not even a record holder in my own family. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, and my son have all caught a bigger bass than me. So I can't even claim to be a record holder in the family.
What's your big bass?
Like 10.9. I've never caught an 11-pounder. My son caught a 12.1. My father-in-law's caught a 12. My mother-in-law's caught a 12.2. My brother-in-law's caught like a 12.4.
Brother-in-law's in Terry.
Yeah, Terry Butcher.
Yeah,
I
Terry
can live
Butcher.
with that one. The mother-in-law and my son are the two hard ones I have a hard time with.
How did they catch those?
She caught hers on a spinnerbait. It's the greatest picture ever. She's cradling this thing with her arm. It's a butcher spinnerbait. You shouldn't even have to ask that. And she's got it like this, and it's a 12-something pounder.
Out of Oklahoma?
No, Falcon.
Oh, okay. That's still good. And then your son caught a 12 as well?
12.1. This is 2-3 years ago on Falcon on a shaky head of all things. And my son-in-law and father-in-law were less than 100 yards away when it all went down. It was pretty cool.
Did he go nuts?
Oh, yeah.
Who went nuts? You or him?
Nobody's more nuts than me. I was blown away by it. I'd never seen a fish that big. It was so cool. And it was the Major League Fishing scales, and it's a legitimate 12.1. I got a video of it on my social media.
He's like bigger than you now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Your son, I remember when you started fishing and then he got into it. And then, like I said, I saw one of the reasons I called, I saw that you caught him on Grand last week. And I was like, oh, who did Edwin fish with? And then I realized that was your boy.
Yeah, he is. He's growing up fast. For being only 15, he's starting to like fishing a lot. He's really into flying. He's got over 20 hours in an airplane. We did the first nighttime flight last week, but
wait, like an actual airplane?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No joke. I didn't know that. Yeah,
he's big time into it. Your buddy Dean, it's pretty cool. I'm going to reach out to Dean and his son. He's a pilot, and
that's what Jeffrey's son is, right? Jeffrey's son is a commercial pilot as well. Really? Mark Jr. No, yeah.
Did not know that. No, he's ate up with it. Loves to do it. We're going to do it again tonight.
Does he have that spread? Like, did you hooked him up with the spread in his room where it's like the simulator, the cockpit, and all that in there, and you can?
No, I'm just right now trying to pay for the plane rental and the.
Dude, you got to do that. So like Mark Jr. would come out back in the day when he was in high school, and he would be home over the summer, and he would come out to the studio where Jeffries and I were doing the show, and Mark would be like, "What's up?" And he'd be like, "Oh, I'm flying into LAX." And really? I'd be like, what's going on? So he literally would like go from whatever airport to the other airport. He would have it on like autopilot when he came out to the garage to get a drink out of the refrigerator. And like all he did was do flight simulation in his room. Like you walk in there and it was like different. It literally looked like a cockpit.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't even know you could do such a thing. I thought that was only at the Tulsa Air and Space Museum.
No. Does he want to be a pilot then? Is that?
Yeah, commercial pilot. Yeah.
It's a good gig.
Yeah,
that'd be handy for you.
I
mean, you got 1,000-gallon aquarium. Surely you can get like a little jet that he can fly you around in, right, Edwin?
No.
All right. I do want to get a pecan farm update. We are kind of approaching that holiday season. Like I said, you were out there after when the power went out here, so I appreciate you coming back. Everything rolling with that. And then also the last time you were on, I think you were making ponds, and you were trying to put smallmouth in one of them, I think. And I'd love to get an update on all that.
Yeah, so the pecan shop, man, it's going awesome. We're only open November and December. My wife makes fresh pies, pecan pies, and they're the best. Like when we put a lot of pecans in the pie, she makes fudge, and obviously we've got all the fresh pecans. And something new we're doing this year, we've got Oklahoma shaped boxes for gifts, for people to send out that are really cool. But it's going really well. I've got a couple guys out there now that are helping. This year also a bunch of kids off the fishing team have been helping. So this year the harvest has gone the smoothest it's ever gone, just because I had some really good help. In the past it was only me and one other guy, and it was hard. Like, we worked really hard on it, and as I've gotten older, I've hired out some more help to make it a lot easier. But going really good. If you guys are in the area in Oklahoma, stop at the shop. I'm up there a lot, or go on the website, and I feel like we got some of the best nuts that you can buy, without a shadow of a doubt. They're really, really good pecans. So to your question on the smallmouth pond, it's turned out awesome. Yeah, you're just looking at the flavors. We got 13 different flavors. We got t-shirts. We got, actually, if you go in the store, there's all kinds of stuff, candles and coffee and mugs. And my wife's got all kinds of stuff in there. We got the Bassmaster Classic trophy in the store, and the Red Crest trophy in the store.
Oh, wait, you actually have like a brick and mortar store that if you want to, you can go in and.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know that. Where's that located?
It's just right on the 4-lane in Uligal, right on 169, right next to Sonic.
On your way to go catch 150 blue cats this winter, stop by and see the Classic trophy and the Red Crest trophy. All right, back to the smallmouth pond, because this was something that was you were going through all of the red tape the last time you were on. Like, you thought you could just go dig a pond, and as it turns out, you can't just go dig a pond.
Yeah, if we started the story started in 2018, and me and my wife bought this piece of property right behind our house off her aunt, and it's the perfect piece of property to build a 39-acre lake. And I thought, well, this will be simple. I did a little research on it, got some figures of what it would cost, and then I figured out I had to get all this stuff done. And literally, it was this year, from 2018, that it got approved. Well, since that time, diesel's gone through the roof. I didn't ever think it was happening. The money that we saved, we bought that pecan store that we just were talking about. And, right now it's going to cost me a lot of money to build that 39-acre lake. In the meantime, I did build 2 other lakes, or not even lakes, ponds, very small ponds, an acre. And one of them we stocked smallmouth in, and all this kind of different bait fish. I've got shad coming this winter for them. Put all kinds of really cool rock piles in it. It's 18 feet deep. And according to Steve Barden, that he says I can grow these fish to 4 to 5 pounds. They're pellet trained smallmouth. They came out of South Dakota. Really cool. I've caught some of them now, and they're like 12, 13 inches long, and they were like 6 inches long when I first caught them. So I'm really excited about that. The pond right above it, we stocked a hybrid trophy bluegill in it. And my goal with that is just to have a place for kids to come fishing and catch a 2 to 3 pound bluegill. Anybody's ever caught a 2 to 3 pound bluegill, they know how hard they fight. And filled it all with mossback fish habitat in both of them. And it's just a fun project. I've never built a pond myself. Back in 2018, I bought a bulldozer because I was going to build this big 39-acre lake, and it just all has changed. So we did.
And you can go through some of this stuff there. You do updates and videos on your YouTube channel occasionally on it too. So
yes, sir. Yeah, but no, that's the update on it. They're full. Everything got really low. Now, a little bit different thing that I'm doing, I've got a pond here at the house, and I got one above the house. Not big ponds, guys. Just the one above is like the biggest one I got, 2 acres, and the one here at the house is really small, but it's got 2 islands, and like one side of it's got a 13-foot just rock wall. I built it all back when we first moved here, and I am stocking 30 all-female bass in it. And I'm really excited about that because I think I can grow a 10-pounder in a little bitty pond. That's my goal.
Like, are you doing the Titan bass, or like one of the I guess, for lack of a better term, designer bass?
I think the Titan, what I know about those Titan bass, that's like real aggressive for catching. I want to
Okay.
grow a 10-pounder. I want to see if I can actually grow a 10-pounder. So that's why we're just doing all females. Now, the pond above me, I've got it all controlled where no fish can leave it. Like I've got a valve in it to feed this pond. So I've got a filter system on the front of it and on the back side of it. The pond above me, I will have just F1 Floridas in it and shad and all those other things. Just be a fun pond to go fishing.
Mhm.
The one here at the house, my goal is to truly just see if I can grow a 10-pounder. I think
What?
it'd be
How
really,
long is that? Should that take 6, 7 years, 5 years, 6 years?
I think with our climate, yeah, you're probably right.
How big are the 30 that you're putting in?
They're supposed to be a pound. So
Oh, okay. So
we'll see.
they're little bitty.
Yeah, I haven't got them yet.
Okay. Joffrey was wondering, you got hydrilla in any of this stuff? Like, what are we talking about?
No, there is some watergrass in there, some pennywort and a few other, like I get American pondweed in there. That's really what I'd love to have in it, but no, there's no hydrilla.
So there's no way those smallmouth like spawn and reproduce and stuff in that one pond, or is it like you're gonna have to just kind of just stick them in there and then they get big and die?
I think they will. I visited the Peoria Indian tribe up in northeast Oklahoma one time, did some social media stuff with them, and they raised smallmouth. And the chief at the time was really trying to promote the smallmouth to where you could go stock them in all these ponds. Well, they reproduced in their pond, and their pond was the same size of what I have built here. It was really, really eye opening. Since then, that they're not promoting those smallmouth up there for whatever reason. That the people that run it have changed hands, but there's a pond up there in Peoria on the Spring River that's phenomenal, and it's muddy. Like you wouldn't believe how muddy that thing is, and there's big old smallmouth in it.
And those fish live in 110-degree Oklahoma heat in the summer. Do you have to dig it deeper, put extra aeration, like anything special on it?
No, not anything at all. And I say all this because I'm getting my information from Steve Bard,
Yeah.
the fisheries biologist, and he's from Texas. So Gary Klein has actually stocked one of his ponds down in Weatherford with smallmouth. And the whole deal on having a pond with smallmouth, you can't ever have a largemouth in it because a largemouth is going to overtake it because they're going to be more acclimated to the warm weather, the of this time of year, the climate that we have around here. So you just have to have just smallmouth. It's going to be really, really, really important not to ever let a largemouth get in there because they would overtake or overpower the smallmouth in a warm water situation. But if you have just strictly smallmouth, they'll do great. I see you're showing a few videos. That's the pond there above the house. Pretty excited about it. That's the pond. That's the one at the house that I'm stocking all females.
That's the pond. I think we're.
Yeah, that's getting all females.
Yeah. Hold on a second. The beginning.
Yeah, you had a little clip.
Are those? Is that the smallmouth pond? Like one of those?
Yeah. Somewhere in there, I think I saw it. Yeah, I just did a little update. Yeah, that's it right there. The top one there is the bluegill pond. The bottom one's the smallmouth pond. I wanted to build that top one just to be able. I got a valve through it to be able to keep that smallmouth.
Well, that's cool. And how many?
I put.
How many did you put in smallmouth? Did you already answer that? The number?
No, I didn't. 100 smallmouth in that smallmouth pond. And I think I put like 250 hybrid bluegill in the one above it. And the numbers of the bait fish were, I put as many as we could just to hopefully get those things growing. It was really cool. I put, I don't know, 200-300 pounds of crawdads. Like Steve delivered crawdads up there, and they come in these big old bags. And if Andy and Ott would have been there, they'd have ate them all. Like they were the biggest crawdads ever. And so we stocked it with major crawdads, and supposedly they'll reproduce and really feed that pond too really, really well. It was pretty cool. I had my grandson with me that day, and he got interested in him not getting a finger pinched off playing with them crawdads.
Dude, have you ever had a blue crab get a hold of your finger?
I don't want to.
I've
seen what they've done to my baits out there fishing. They'll cut a bait in half in a hurry.
We trapped him one of the years. You guys were fishing on the St. John's where I was staying. Covering it was on the river, and there were some crab traps in the garage. And I was like, well, I'll frickin' trap blue crabs. So I got the license, got the whole 9 yards. Cause when you're you got to make sure that you're legal. So I got the chicken necks or the turkey necks and all that stuff and put it out there. And I was averaging like 6 to 8 crabs a day. And then, Dave Rush.
The bright idea to bet you, hey, stick your finger in there.
Well, no. It was, so we were rooming with, Kelly Jordan at the time. So Kelly was fishing. Right. And he was like, he's like, how KJ is. He's like, dude, like, we're going to eat some blue crabs at the end of this. So I would transfer them to a different cage from the cage I caught them in so we could have a blue crab feast. Well, one of them got a hold of me. And it is one of the top 3 most painful things I've ever experienced in my life is the blue crab on. Now, I didn't know this at the time. All you have to do is put them in the water and they'll let go. But of course, I didn't. So I ended up at the house with this thing fully attached to my finger. I mean, it was bad. It was blue crabs are not fun to get pinched by, and neither are those big crawfish.
Well, I did not know that.
Why'd you go with that and not the prawns?
I have to defer to Steve Barden.
Okay.
Whatever he says, I just do.
All right, that works.
Yeah.
I do want to talk some fishing with you. You've been on the water a bunch. I want to talk this transitional period because it seems like the last couple of years, like there's not been defined seasons, which has been very difficult for me in trying to catch fish. So we'll chat about that. It's BTL on a Monday, kind of back to our regularly scheduled programming. Edwin Evers, our guest today, and we'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
This is Gamakatsu's new Nano Alpha line of hooks. If it looks familiar, that's because they are. It's the same shapes and sizes in the round bend and the EWG and in the new Horizon head that you know and love from Gamakatsu, but there are a couple new features with this Nano Alpha, which is this little green label that you see on the packaging. First off, 2 times faster hook penetration. That's because of the Nano Alpha smooth coating on it, and also it is 4 times more corrosion resistant. Check it out, Nano Alpha.
I've been using Sunline Shooter for the majority of my career. Millions of dollars made, lots of bass caught, and the gnarly stuff. If you need a abrasion resistant, tough fishing line for the really mean stuff, Sunline Shooter is for you.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, and truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Look at that beast right there.
Hi, welcome back, BTL with Edwin Evers. I wanted to talk to you about the MLF Team Series. I think there's one that's going on right now at Headwaters. And I was Googling, trying to figure out which one you had fished. And I came across this thing. I didn't know you were in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's an honor. It's pretty cool that night. They had NFL players there to a bass fisherman there getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was born in Missouri, so I guess that is my tie to Missouri, and I was thankful to be a part of that.
Yeah, there it is. Category athlete. You're inducted 2021. Sport fishing teams, Bass Pro Shops. So, that's cool. You in any other Hall of Fames, or just the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame?
Just that one.
Yeah, I feel like if you're in any Hall of Fame, it doesn't matter. Like you must have done something right. So, which team? What are your thoughts on the team series? Which one did you fish? I think they're in like the final one of the year. I had Andy and Odd on. It was a debacle of a show. I absolutely loved it. I also really got into watching. Oh, this past one, watching Poche, and like there's just been some really interactions. What was the one I was watching? It had Lefebvre and Dudley in the boat together, and I was just like mesmerized with watching those guys try to interact with each other for 7 consecutive hours.
Yeah,
like I remember Dudley would be like, "Hey Dave, like you good? Like, you know, that last fish I caught was suspended. Do you think you might want to go to a lighter jig?"
He said
like,
no,
I'm good. And he's like, "You sure?" And he's like, "No, I like this jig." Well, you know that what? No, I'm throwing this jig. And then, you know, Dudley loses one. And Lefebvre's like, "Oh, it's okay." And then he breaks his rod in half. And then it just, I loved the dynamic of it. What are your thoughts on the way it is putting two guys in a boat?
I love it. It's how we all started our fishing careers, you know, team fishing. It was some of the best times of my life. And still to this day, you know, I got to go fish that team tournament the other day with my son. It's how we all fish. And it's finally right, you know, with 2 guys in one boat, not hooked to phones and microphones, all that. So, me and Justin Cooper fished the third event down in OH Ivy. And you talk about one tough fishery. Ott and Alton were catching ones that were eating dragonflies. They literally said they'd jump out of the water 4 feet and come back down and catching 1-pounders. You know, me and Justin didn't get that bite figured out. We were out there doing things we thought we needed to be doing to catch bigger fish, but a tough fishery. But those events are a lot of fun. I don't ever see those going anywhere.
Now, full disclosure, you guys were like limited on what you could do on Ivy with cell signal, right? Like there were portions of the lake that you couldn't like fish and stuff, and it was there during a really bad time of the year. Like it, and granted, I don't know what kind of stage Ivy is in right now. I've heard it's kind of cyclical out there right now, but like you guys were not dealt a very good hand when it came to. It's not like OH Ivy was popping off and you guys just went there and sucked. Like it's hard to catch a fish on Ivy right now.
You know, for us, the ones that we caught, they were all skinny, like really skinny as a rail. So what I saw on that lake, it's on a downturn. You know, I know they catch some giants there. I just don't think they catch a lot of them. And, you know, you put us out there. I've never been there. I don't think anybody in the whole field had ever been there, even Alton Jr. I guess Alton Jr. may have been the only one, Todd Faircloth, any of those guys. So, you know, we're out there trying to actually have to catch them immediately. You gravitate towards the bank. And, you know, probably looking back on some of that stuff that a lot of those big fish are caught, I think they're caught more out offshore. That's the one downfall to those Cup Series team events. You don't get a lot of practice to go idling around finding stuff. You know, every time you're out there idling around, somebody else seems to be catching one on the bank. So that's just kind of where we gravitate towards.
You think there will be more of this in the future? Like, do you think that this is kind of the direction that we're going to see professional fishing going with the team series, or will it always kind of be a sub thing in your opinion?
I think it'll be a sub thing. I think we'll always have you see that team side growing. You know, I don't see why you couldn't have multiple events like that. I'd like to see it with the same guy. You know, I think it's kind of, I'd like to have my favorite team partner for the whole year, you know, just kind of ins and outs. I don't know. Yeah, it's the only thing that I would like to see changed.
Who is your favorite team partner? Like if you were to fish that, like let's say that thing was big money, you got to do your favorite team partner. Who are you fishing with? Put you on the spot.
Jeff Reynolds or Matt Reed. You know,
they got to be on the BPT.
Oh man, come on!
It's the BPT thing.
Historic with the Well, we go get those guys qualified out over there action with Matt or in the invitational series. Obviously,
Yeah.
those two guys would be great. I'd love to have Todd. I've got a lot of history with Todd. Mark Davis, for me, I'd be in awe all day if I could be.
Dang it, your internet service went from like perfect to like bad, like in
Not
just a
going?
split second.
Oh, we still good?
Yeah, we're still
Okay.
good.
I
We'll
was
make
just
it
saying
work.
Mark Davis would be one. That I
Mark
would
Davis.
just-
Okay. Yeah, no,
I
that'd be
would-
fun. I feel like that would be a relaxing day in the boat with Mr. Davis, with Mark Davis.
Yeah, I think Mark has a fire that a lot of people. He would be a good one for me to go with.
All right. I do want to talk a little bit of fishing before I let you go. Edwin, like, would you say right now, especially in Oklahoma, there's a lot of confusion as to what's going on the water with the fish? To me, it seems like we are literally all 4 seasons at once right now across the state.
I think about fall fishing and to this year, it's really different because it's warm. The water is really warm I feel like this time of the year. Most of the time in fall it's so tough because, well, one, the water is super clear. We have no current. There's a fall turnover going on. So if you had 100 fish in the barrel and you had a thermocline, you kind of 100 fish above whatever that line is in that given lake. Well, now you take the thermocline out. Now those 100 fish are to the bottom wherever they really want to be. This fall being a little different that I've gotten 15 inches of rain 15 days. And so that's really kind of changing things and starting to put some water through these bodies of water. But in the Southeast, those guys aren't getting any rain down there. So they're dealing with all those normal things that we normally have, only they don't have any cooler weather to cool it off. Things that I try to do in the fall, I guess, is just, I feel like fish really key. It's of all the times of the year, they are so keyed on a certain size and a certain retrieve and a certain bait. Most of the time you can tie your 4 or 5 baits on and put the trolling motor on high and you can Kevin Van Dam them, figure out where the fish are just by fishing faster. I think it's the one time a year you can not have the right bait on and throw it through the biggest wad of them and they're not going to touch it. So I tinker a lot with my baits, whether it's the blade size on my spinner bait or the size of my square bill or the retrieve of it. I think that's I think in my history, I miss them is because I'm not always in the right part of the water column with the part of the bait.
Interesting. Yeah, we just spent a lot of time on I obviously had that nation championship on Grand while I was there. I was in the back of a creek, and dude, I didn't realize that they had been regularly stocking hybrids, starting in like 18, 19, 2020. And I like looked down in the tournament and I'm like, my God, what is that a school of? Like what I told my co-angler, I said, come up here and look at this. I said, there's 1,000 of these things and they're big and they're moving fast. I said, they're not. I said, I know they're not bass. I said, but I'm going to see what, and I got my minnow a quarter of the way down and they came up and swarmed. And they were all freaking 6 to 7.5 pound hybrids. So when I was doing this Master Angler Challenge with Matt Steffen, we went back, we went straight back there. I said, dude, if they're there, I said, we got to be able to catch a 10 pounder or a 26 incher. And he started throwing a bigger minnow and I was catching them like boom, boom, boom. And his bait was 2 inches bigger than mine, same bait. And he was catching maybe 1 to my 4. And then as soon as he switched to a smaller bait, boom, we started trading 1 for 1. And then one of them came up out of the school, spit up a bunch of shad, and they were all those 2.5 to 3 inch shad. And even those aggressive fish would differentiate between a 3 inch bait and a 5 inch bait. It was wild. You would think that those
Crazy.
suckers would see it moving and
Crazy.
not eat it. But no, they would like come up to it and swim away. It was the wildest thing I'd ever seen.
That is crazy. Yeah, I think like this time of the year, you know, for what? Go ahead.
No. I was going to ask another question about it, so keep going.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, how do you, like size-wise when it comes to it, are you going to start with a specific size, or are you going to, like, how are you going to know if you're, my question is, how are you going to know if you are matching it? Fair question?
Yeah, that's a fair question. A lot of times for me, it's when I just go opposite of what I've been using. I'll either go with a really small square bill crankbait or a bigger square bill crankbait, or depending on the water clarity too. You know, as far as my spinner bait, you know, if it's pretty clean, I'm going to go with some smaller blades, more compact. You know, if I've got some color, I'm going to go with a lot bigger blades. You know, change those blades out and put some bigger blades on it. And that also kind of changes as the water gets colder, but I don't know. I just, like the other day over at Grand, you know, I'm watching the you know, you see this big tournament going on. You think of all these fish getting released in the back of Wolf Creek and
It was 4 weeks in a row. Before you were fishing there were 4 weeks in a row of a multi-day 150 plus tournament that went out of Wolf.
Where those fish are, we're going to find them. And we spent till 11 o'clock in there that day. And no, it was 1 o'clock because the tournament didn't start till 10. So we spent till 1:30. And we caught a limit of fish, but the biggest one was 2 pounds. And most of them were like a pound, 8 ounces, pound, 9 ounces. Like, we just didn't catch anything good. And then we finally caught one decent one, and then that really kept us in there. And finally, once we left, you know, we just started doing what I thought we should have been doing to, you know, after that release fish. And I'd been watching, they'd been pulling water, you know, and that had kind of changed, I guess, maybe from everybody else. You know, it'd been raining, and we just started fishing corners, you know, just as many corners as we could with a square bill crankbait. And we ended up, he caught 2 nice ones, and I caught a nice one. And, you know, we got to 1498, almost 15
What do you mean
pounds.
corners?
And,
talk about what do you mean corners, Edwin?
Just something that sticks out in the lake, you know, a point of some sort, you know, and it seemed like it needed to be vertical. You know, most of the time over there, that flat stuff was really, really the deal in the fall. And for a reason, they were more on the steeper stuff. But that's ended up how we did it. And it was really cool getting to fish with Cade, because that's only the second tournament I've ever fished with him. The first one I fished with him, I think he was 5, and we ended up eating burgers, and we swam, and it's a pretty cool story if you don't mind me telling.
Yeah, have at it.
It's one of them Tuesday tournaments, you know, where Kirk Warren's in it.
Yeah.
Father-in-law Terry Butcher and Rob Bagby and like a lot of hammers on.
Yeah, you don't show up unless you either plan on donating or you're really on them. One of those.
Yeah,
deals.
it's that Tuesday league, and this is back in June on Grand a few years back, a lot of years back. Well, I figured out that day pretty quick that they were deep, like mega deep, and I called my brother-in-law at 11 o'clock, and I was like, man, we've got, I think it was a 4 fish limit. I know it was a 4 fish limit, and we got 4 and a couple 5s, and our 2 smallest 4.5. You know, we had 19 pounds, and I was trying to clue him in, and he had 1 4-pounder and a limit of little ones. He said, we're just going to. I was like, okay. And they're flipping trees. And me and my son, we come in to weigh in. We had like 18 and 4. Well, my father-in-law had 20 point something and 4, and my buddy Rob Bagby and Kirk, they had 20 point something. We got third. And, you know, my father-in-law, the moral of the story is we were catching them like in 20 to 22, and my father-in-law and brother-in-law kept flipping willow trees all day and ended up catching, you know, 4 or 5 pounders that you know, if somebody calls me at 11 o'clock in the day and tells me they got, you know, 20 pounds on 4, I'm going to probably go do what they're doing.
Yeah.
Not my brother-in-law and father-in-law. They just kept flipping them willow trees and ended up coming in and beating both of us.
I think Grand might be like I'm cyclical. I'm a belief in big like cycles, and because of water level and spawns, like I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I think it impacted it, but I don't believe you put a launch ramp at Wolf and then the whole lake goes to crap because of pressure. I think it's literally like we're comparing it to an era when there was an obscene amount of 3.5 to 3 3/4 pound fish. If you look at those nickels, it'd be 100 boats would have 20 pounds and first place would be 21.5. Right.
Yeah.
So like those fish like die. And if they're not, there's no fish to come up behind them. Then it just so happens that then in 13 is when the classic is, and that's when they changed the ramp. And then there's been major tournaments there ever since. But have you noticed on Grand the thousands and thousands of 12 to 13.5-inch fish that are in that lake right now? I've never in the 18 to 20 years that I fished that ever seen schools of bass like that on Grand. Have you?
No, I haven't. It's going to be an interesting, time coming before us, but you are 100% right. I this past 6 months, I've been blown away by them. You pull off the end of any of those docks or the ends of those wave breaks, and there's just 50 or 60 of them in a school.
It's unbelievable. And they all look healthy. They're all built right. And I would be interested to see, sure, we weren't able to see those fish, like say, in 2007, 8 when they were growing up. But I wonder if that happened back then too. And then all of a sudden they were keepers, and then 2.5s, and then 3s, and then they're just the fish, that strain doesn't get gigantic for the most part.
Right.
So I see a lot of them probably die around that 5-pound mark.
Probably does,
but
the lake record's only like 12 pounds, and I've only known on one of those, and it was caught in that 13 classic right afterwards, on the Honeycomb Bridge or something.
Yep. Falcon's another one that seems to be making a really nice comeback. You mentioned Matt Reed earlier. I see him posting with a bunch of he claims to be a guide. He just becomes best friends with everybody that he guides. So then he freaking every day is just him fishing with buddies, even though he's guiding down there. It's like a hell of a system that he has figured out.
Yeah,
like zero stress. But I always see him. He's catching bigs, and from what I've heard, Falcon's making a nice rebound.
My father-in-law sends me a picture the day before yesterday of a 992 he caught. He's on cloud 9 down there right now.
Is he still running didn't he run a Jaguar for a while?
Yeah, he's got the next one that links right now.
Okay, so it's smaller. So I looked at that Jaguar one time when he was having it detailed. They had to they had to vacuum sand out of that thing for 3 days, 10 hours a day, because that boat was not, I was like, that boat was not supposed to be where it had been. Like, I think the only way to get that much sand in a boat is to power your boat into areas that are so shallow and have a sandy bottom that it comes back over into the boat. Like, we're talking 5-gallon buckets of sand came out of this boat.
Matt, me and you fish a lot, and we make our living fishing. I don't know if there's another person that fishes more than my father-in-law. Every day of the year, like he is ate up with it. It's just amazing to me.
That's good though. I mean, if you have a passion and you're able to follow it, you still have a passion for it. You still have a passion for the tournament fishing, for the whole grind, the whole 9 yards.
I wake up every morning thinking about it. I absolutely love it. It's I can't wait for Conroe to get here. I get busy doing other things this time of the year, and trying to develop this pecan business and that orchard, and it gets a little stressful when I don't have good help. But fortunately, I've got a guy out there now that I think can take it all over for me, and I've had a couple high school kids out there that have really helped out a bunch. After school and before, a couple work program kids. So that's going to allow me to get back out on the water, and it's just been killing me that, I've been fishing, but not like I like to. I like to go at least 2, 3, 4 days a week.
What turn weren't you leading a classic at Conroe or way up? Didn't you have, I remember you were fishing the break walls and you were smashing them there, and that was not an easy turn. Was that the one Joe Lee ended up winning because he broke down?
Yeah. Third day, the final day of that thing, I lock up on a 8 or 9 pounder, and she's acting like she's going to bite. And I look at my watch 2.5 hours later, and I'm still sitting there trying to catch her. And ended up weighing 3 fish that day. It just killed me. The shad spawn, I was catching them on the shad spawn in the morning.
That's what I remember.
And it kind of went away that morning. I lost a couple, and I ran a bunch of new water, and it didn't happen. And then I find that big one on a bed and locked up on it. That's happened to me a few times in the Classic. Just you think you need to hit a home run on the final day and catch another 20-something pounds. In reality, all I needed was 16 and to get a few other bites, and I would have won.
But you got to fish it that way, though, right? Like you can't.
I do all
like.
the
There's
time.
no way you could have any regrets doing that.
Yeah, there is some times in my career that you try too hard. You think you've got to have that big stringer the final day. When looking back, I just wish I'd have gone and caught what I could have caught instead of trying so hard to get a big stringer to make sure.
You went into the final day on that one. I forgot. That was a very interesting tournament. So you went 18-3, and then was it 2013 on day 2? So you went into the final day in 3rd place. You were about 3 pounds back from Brent Ehrler.
Huh. Okay.
You were leading it. I feel like you had a camera with you. I remember you were leading that thing for a while. Am I looking at the right thing? Conroe's the only one. And then Joe Lee came in with 27-4 on the last day. Yeah, you had 7 pounds on the final.
Bad. Thanks for bringing it up, buddy.
No, you all come on, dude. Yeah, you've also weighted what? Was it 29 on Grand?
Yeah, that was a good day.
And then the Red Crest that you won, that the lacrosse one where you found the glory hole and literally caught him every single cast for how many hours?
Long time. My arm cramped up. I've never had that fishing like this where I couldn't close my hand.
Those are 2 pretty good moments.
Yeah, they were. They were good ones.
You ever found a wad of fish like that before?
Back early in my career, when I lived in my camper, I spent a lot of time on Toledo Bend, and there were schools on Toledo Bend on that upper end in October, November, December that would rival anything on the face of the planet.
Every cast,
and big ones. Like I don't know if they've ever been like that since, because I've tried, and it was just unbelievable. I'll never forget, me and Matt are fishing a team tournament, and it was a 2-dayer. One day was on Rayburn, and the other day was on Toledo. And I told him, I was like, Matt, we're going to let all these boats run by the river, and then we're going to pull out here and we're going to catch them. This is how it went down. If I'm lying, I'm dying. We pull over here on the little side deal for like 15 minutes and catch 3. And I was like, all right, let's go. And we get out there, and I remember learning from Rick Clunn about speed cranking. And man, I throw 2 or 3 times through there. Back then it was a big old fat free shad, and I'm just like winding it through there, I can't get a bite. And I'm like, Rick Clunn said to burn them things. So I threw it out there, and I just, no lie, there was fish flopping in the boat everywhere. Matt never got to make a cast. There's like 7 or 8 fish that he's netting and trying to cull, and it's just complete chaos. And he finally gets so mad at me. Time out! I want to make a cast, And it was like that the rest of the day. Like we had 8 or 10 schools of them up there. That it was. I don't know if it'll ever be like that again. But
how much weight did you end up having?
I don't remember. We won. I don't remember.
Dude, let me ask you this. You talk about that. I've covered not as long as a lot of guys, but I've covered a lot of tournaments. It seems like it has been forever since there was a good old-fashioned deep cranking derby. And it seems like it used to be 2 or 3 a year, regardless of what it was on the Elite Series or even the FLW Tour where they would go. And now, I mean, I can't recall a tournament where guys, had their 5 crankbaits lined out and went out and caught them on a big plug.
Yeah, Kentucky Lake, that's the last ones I remember.
Well, that was what, 10 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Is that a change in technique? Is that a change in fish? Is that a change in scheduling? What is the reason for that?
I think it's a combination of all of that. You've got to have the current, you've got to have the time of year and the water not to be blowed out or flooded. And I can't remember our schedules. I try to forget about all the past tournaments and just think about the ones going forward. So I can't really remember where we've been those times a year, but I don't remember being at a place where that was going to be conducive.
Didn't you win Bass Fest on Kentucky Lake doing that?
Yeah. Yep. That, and I caught a 8-something pounder on a hair jig right towards the end of the day.
Really?
Yeah, that was such a cool bite. I'll never forget it. She missed it the first time I was reeling it, and I paused it, and my back then that line would just pop, just like, ooh, just like, and I set the hook and nothing, and I like pushed the button and killed it, and just started reeling again, and then I set the hook, and it was like I don't know, 8.2 or 8.8, or it was a big one. Really big one. And I felt at the time it sealed the deal, because that was back when people would kind of look at, it wasn't called Score Tracker. It was called whatever, Bass Track or whatever. And I had a pretty big gallery following me that day. And they were all telling me, man, Kevin doesn't have him. Kevin doesn't have him. Kevin doesn't have him. Well, I'm running in, and it was a long run back. And I'm looking at my phone, and they're like, when I get almost back to the bridge, Kevin pops up with like 25 or 26 pounds. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. Because I done finished second to him the year before there. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I was so happy to win, because I don't know what would have happened if I'd lost to him again.
That top 5 was like insane. It was you, Kevin, Brett Hyde in 3rd, Timmy Horton in 4th, and Fred Rambanis in 5th. But that's some guys who know how to crank a plug around some shell.
Yeah. Yeah, that was some fun times.
I would like to see a good old-fashioned deep cranking derby again.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be cool. I honestly think there's a lot of guys who don't even have them in the boat anymore. There's a whole generation. Think about this. There's a whole generation of professional anglers that are on tour right now that are making their living that have never weighed in a bass in a tournament on a deep plug.
You're 100% right.
Like a substantial percent, dude.
100% right. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like I remember when Cliff Crochet was a rookie, and he was really, he's not spun out, but he knew that he was behind the 8 ball because he'd never thrown a big plug. And he's like, dude, you got to learn how to throw a big plug if you're going to succeed on the Elite Series.
Yeah. I remember the last one we had. The last big deep diving tournament was on Chickamauga, a Bass Pro Tour event. And I don't remember who won, but I remember I made it fairly long into that event, and I caught an 8-pounder on that day on a Berkeley dredger on a 25.5, and I had like 30 seconds to get it in, or for lines out, and she hit on my last cast, and I've never wound in an 8-pounder that quick on a treble hook bait with 12-pound test and landed it. But that was the last one. I don't know how many years ago. It had to be like 2020, 2021.
Yeah. Do you think it's a fair assessment to say that the popularity, the advancement of 360, the Humminbird 360, really helped the crankbait bite, but then the forward-facing sonar, the live technology, like the active target, hurt it?
Yeah.
Like, look at what Keith was doing back in the day with the chartreuse powder blueback 6XD. Like, I mean, I was working for the PAA then, and there was, that look like, hey, I'm winning this on a crankbait, but we don't really, all about that, Edwin. We don't really have to dive into the details of how we got the fish to eat the crankbait, where we were casted. Like, if you want to leave the 360 part out, feel free to, but that was all 360. And then the side imaging with Kevin and the cranking. So your proximity cranking. And then once the live started, then you could,
it's one cast deal, right? Yeah. You can throw a bait out there, and you don't have to crank your guts out to get it down to that depth. You can throw your minnow or your hair jig or something else out there, or swim bait, and get it there a lot easier and bring it right over their head.
Interesting. I'm sure there's going to be one eventually again.
Well, it'll have to be a little bit dirtier water, something more.
Like the seasons have gotten earlier, where 3/4 of the season is spawn, or pre-spawn.
Yeah.
Little bit dirtier water and a little bit later in the season on the right type of fishery.
Yeah, a little bit of current.
And they'll have to make the minnow illegal.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 things that need to happen for a big crankbait to be effective again.
Yeah.
We don't have to dive into this. Are you a minnower? You can just answer yes or no.
I've got them. I'm not by any means a Drew Gill or some of those other guys that are so good with that thing. But, I think you've got to have it to compete at the level that I'm at. So I've got them. I've got a lot to learn with it.
Yeah. Question here. So it said, Matt, how many fish have you weighed on a frog? You must listen to BTL regularly. I've never weighed in a tournament bass on a hollow belly frog. Never. I lost one at Ross Barnett that would have culled, that would have been a hollow bodied frogfish. And it was the dumbest thing ever. I got my boat stuck on the bottom and one ate it while it was sitting still. And I literally lifted up my rod and my braid was swimming. I didn't even see it eat it. And it jumped and it was like a 4-pounder. But no, I've never caught a tournament fish that I've weighed in on a frog.
How does Bradley Hallman even consider you a friend?
I don't know. I think I'm going to get to go hang out with him at the Alabama game this week.
If you tell him that, he's not going to let you go.
Dude, by the end of his deal, he was spinning rodding a bunch.
Yeah, he was.
I know that's bad in Oklahoma, but I just never have. I've thrown it a bunch. That's like I probably weighed in 2 whopper plopper fish in my entire life. And one of those I can vividly remember because it would have eaten a shoe as soon as it hit the water. I was throwing the big black plopper on Lake of the Ozarks. And as soon as it hit the water, it got eaten. It did not matter what was on it. As long as it had hooks attached to it, I was catching that fish.
Those are the bites that keep you coming back.
Yeah. Anything else before I let you go here? I appreciate you taking time out of the afternoon. It's about lunchtime, so.
Appreciate being on and all you do for the sport, man. You're great job carrying the torch on that Mark left you.
Thanks. I know. I can't believe I haven't tanked it in 3 years.
No, you're doing phenomenal.
It made a lot of money for people who are betting against me, betting for me in that. So,
so you and Hallman are going to the Alabama game.
Well, Hallman tailgates there, right? And it's an evening game.
Yeah.
So, girlfriend Courtney and I, she was like, "Do you want to go? You can get tickets, decent tickets. Back when they first went out, everything was $500. Well, now that it's going to be probably not a favorable outcome for the University of Oklahoma Sooners,
we got to win, make a bowl game.
You can get in for $100 now.
Oh, cool.
$100 a ticket. But Alabama at night in Norman, first time, you got, and there's nothing going on. You got to go see it, even if it's going to be a debacle.
Absolutely.
We went to the not the Tennessee game, the South Carolina game. Me and my buddy Greg. Dude, it was freaking 21-0, 3 minutes into you blinked and it was just the craziest thing I'd ever seen.
Couldn't have started off any worse.
It's like when you just roll up, South Carolina just rolled up, made 5 flips and had a 20 bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's the equivalent of it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
So, all right, Edwin, I appreciate it. And if you guys are looking for gifts or anything in that off season, you can just go to edwinevers.com and then there's links to the pecan and all of his other deals there. So, and then also Edwin Evers YouTube channel. We've talked about that before, growing that, still growing that almost at 100K.
Thank you, bud. It's
up
been
there
a lot of work.
80,000. So, all right, take her easy, Edwin.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, see ya. All right, that is Edwin Evers. $4 million in tournament earnings, 13 major career wins. And I know that because he's one of the few pros who keeps an updated website. All right, I think that is all we got for today. Tomorrow, I'm going positive week, man. I've been getting some texts from Charlie Hartley, and I've been chatting with Charlie, and I said, dude, it's been a while since you've been on BTL. I said, what are you doing Tuesday morning? He said, I'm on BTL Tuesday morning. So, Charlie Hartley, tomorrow, I have my deposits in for Division 2 of the Bassmaster Open EQs. So that's 4 tournaments. Gonna give that a shot. I feel like it could be a good year. A lot of momentum going into it with the 4 events: Rayburn, Kentucky Lake, Leech, and I think the Norfolk in Arkansas, right there where Bass Cat is. I know Rick Pierce was excited about that one, but going to jump in those 4. We got a lot of stuff that we're working on for next year to try to bring more live. If you've noticed, I'm doing more in-studio guests, more kind of outside-the-box stuff. I still love tournament fishing. I still love covering the tournament scene. But to be quite honest, I just got burned out especially after the last couple months covering it all. So I'm still covering it. That's still going to be a focus, but possibly some more like adventure, love of the sport, outside the box type things, kind of like what we did with Matt Steffen this past week. I'm going to have guys on that I like to talk to, that are positive dudes, that I enjoy talking to, and that we can all learn something from. So we're going to have Frank Scalish in studio here in the next couple months. I've got Zeke Anderson in studio coming in. We've had him on the show before to talk a little bit about crappie. We're going to do a crappie refresher for the fall. I think a great way to increase your skill while taking a break from things that stress us out is to go crappie fishing. Yes, I'd love to try to get Lynn Dollar. I wonder if that's even a real person. That's all of the archived footage. I wonder how if Lynn Dollar is around, I wonder how they got their hands on that type of footage. So, all right, that's all we got for today. 8:30 a.m. Tuesday morning. The man, the myth, the legend, Charlie Hartley. Listen, guys, if you haven't not had a chance to listen and watch the entire series with Matt Steffen and I, you can watch his videos. He did a video every day. We followed it up with a podcast every day. They kind of work in conjunction where we try to do this Master Angler series. I'd love to hear some feedback on that after you watch that series of shows and watch Matt Steffen's video. Do you think is that something you guys enjoy watching, enjoy following? Is that something that we should continue to do? Maybe 1, 2, 3 times a year where we take a week and we try to really dive into this and catch other species outside of bass. I know we both absolutely had a blast, but then we're also doing it for the 3 E's: entertain, educate, and engage. So let me know if you thought it hit it on all that. Also, big shout out to Matt for coming down. He drove 26 hours and we drove another 26 hours while he was here over 4 days. We slept like 4 days or 4 hours a night, but all right, for the 5th time, I'll close the show. This has been another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow. See ya.